Hello, I'm Clark Farley.
And I'm Denise Fasaro, and we are coming to you live from the Westerly, Rhode Island office of Randall Realtors. We invite you to spend a little time as we share our insights and experiences, tips and tactics acquired over quite a few years. Our goal to help you become a better buyer and a skilled seller. Now, I had said last week I wasn't going to do that anymore, but I did it because we're talking about things we've done in the past, and we're going to talk about things we've done in the future. But before we get to that, please watch us on YouTube. We are live. Facebook, we're also live, obviously. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and like us and share us on Facebook. Also, we're on Instagram, and we do a Where in South County Are We, which you should check out because it's a lot of fun if you're from the area to try to figure out the places that we're taking photos of.
What she said. I'm totally lost. I always do because Denise does such an excellent job with that intro that has pretty much stayed the same since we started. But as we mentioned last week, this is a first anniversary or half anniversary, 6 months. We looked it up. Mm-hmm. And I'm only disappointed that we weren't able to get clips. Because, when you do these retrospective things, you got to have some time with the clips. And, oh, my God.
We're going to do that at 1 year. Well, 6 months is pushing it. If we make it to a year, we're going to do it then.
Yeah, because my hair was a different color. She wore different clothing.
I did wear different clothing.
Wait till you see this stuff because we're looking at it.
Well, it was December. So, obviously we wore different clothing.
And people say that I was nervous then. But you don't see us before we go on the air. I get to say my usual thing, and maybe I'll save that for next week, Denise, is the prompted by the constraints of social distancing, et cetera, which Denise hates and I really still like. But it does come down to this whole thing is about providing useful information to buyers and sellers in real estate.
And sometimes both.
Totally stepped on my line.
I thought you were done with that.
Totally stepped on my line. But we do want to lead into this because we'll be looking back at the kinds of things we did. And I wrote a lot of the bullet points, and most of which I'm going to be saying is, hey, thanks for staying with us through these 6 months, not just because it's an audience, but because having a constant audience makes the process doable.
Yes, it definitely does. So we were looking back at some of our shows from the past 6 months. And some of them are kind of funny because some of them, as those of you who have been following us will remember that we were miming sometimes.
That's right.
We had some issues with sound, and we had some actual video issues as well. So we've kind of worked some of that out, I think, for the most part.
No, that's thanks out to like Kim and Manny and Phyllis and Martha Jean and Alex for
and Ben Barber.
And saying, tick, 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 hey, is this thing on?
Right.
And we'd see the comment. Well, sometimes, actually, we had the show where we didn't check the comments until the end.
Yeah. And then we did the whole show, and there was no volume. So
that was a great show.
We've learned quite a bit. We hope that you're learning something about real estate watching us. And that is what our show is about. So our very first show, we talked about financing. So if you have just joined us and haven't watched our past shows, please, again, I'm going to ask you to check us out on YouTube. We have shows on financing. We have shows on picking a real estate agent. We have shows on creating a team. What are some of the other shows that we had, Clark, that would be of interest to people who haven't seen us before?
I don't know. What Denise said, and even though we can add to what we've done, and we probably won't just do a rerun series. The idea is grounded in what agents have always done, which is try to educate buyers when we get to them as first-time buyers, and sellers, the same thing. All agents, good agents, do that. Mm-hmm. We just took it that one step further, Denise's fault for going on the live basis, but the principle is still the same. Hey, buyers, here's a couple of tips. We've done this for too long a time. Mr. Seller, had you thought about this? So
I think one of the things that is important about our show about our little briefing here is that the reason that people hire real estate agents is for our experience and for our expertise on getting you from wanting to buy a house or wanting to sell your house to actually getting you to close. We are, like most professionals, we constantly are doing continuing education. The more we're in the business, the more we learn about different things that might pop up that you would not expect. And so our goal has been to educate buyers and sellers this way, which is something we used to do in the backseat of our cars or across their kitchen table. And our goal is to give you some information that'll help you become a better buyer and a better seller. And so that's what we've been doing.
Well, that and the whole, and you hit upon it with the backseat of the car thing, which I still love that. The idea of rather than do a pre-recorded instructional video, tons of those good ones out there, and to just give information better, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours, that context, experience. In other words, hey, here's what might happen, because it doesn't happen to everyone.
Right.
You can't, if you tried to put everything into one be a good buyer videotape, it would be 6 hours long and hardly anybody will watch it. And also we've been developing the thing that we're doing as we're doing it too.
Yes.
The drawback to the old days when you had what do you used to call those, buyer education seminars and things like that, is that it was by necessity written out and planned, and you wanted to cover all of your points. But here, the advantage of something like this live with the feedback that we get is that we can alter what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Well, it's not only feedback. We also ask for questions, and we have answered viewer questions. We spent one of our shows just answering viewer questions. So it is something that, please tell people about it, because we think that it's something that they'll be interested in learning about. Like Clark said, not every process for every person is the same, but we have experienced a lot, and most realtors have experienced a lot, that they can help you through the process, ease your stress, educate you, or just guide you along the way.
Yeah, and one of the things we developed that we didn't have in mind when we started was the team approach. I really like that. The players that are always involved in the transaction from the buyer perspective, and to a limited degree the seller, viewing it as a team and presenting the strategy based on building that team before the process starts, as opposed to as it's ongoing. I really have liked that, and I can see us revisiting that with, as you had said, as we get specific questions or more situations from, I'm not supposed to look up to the ceiling. This is not a good thing to do.
But look at the camera.
And we're better at doing that. You probably have noticed that I'm staring at the camera now more than I am staring at that. Anyway, I'm glad to be here.
So that's some of the things that we have done. And we're going to be talking also about things that we're planning to do in the next episodes.
We're going to do it slowly because we're at 8 minutes.
We're only at 8 minutes. Wow.
Here's the inside scoop, is that I have a total fear of running short, except we just looked at the first one, in fact, wasn't it?
I think it was the first one was only 16 minutes
16
instead
minutes.
of 20.
Totally relieves any of the anxiety and stress that I'm experiencing.
Clark is always afraid we're going to run out of things to say.
No.
Have you ever seen us even come close to run out of things to say? If you've watched the show, we do not run out of things to say.
No, but that doesn't prevent me from worrying about it.
Yeah.
In fact, remind me before the end of the show that we come back to that notion of the bridge between commercials and briefings.
Well, we can talk a little bit about our commercials before we get into the future. So we also started to do a commercial on Mondays.
Yep.
The time is not set. It's kind of whenever we both have time together. And we last for it used to be 2 minutes, and now it's more like 5 or 6. Why? Because we do statistics.
Oh, that was a question to me.
Yes, it was, but
Hadn't prepared for that question. But the statistics, as we so endearingly pronounce it, is, I don't know, I like it a lot. Denise does a better job of compiling them, but it's funny about the commercials, very Super Bowl-ish, but we get as strong a response to our commercial, and maybe it's the brevity doing that, but
I think we're a little more relaxed. It's a little more fun. We're trying to help.
I'm totally
educate.
Relaxed.
Okay. Yeah, as your fists are clenched.
That, what she said. But that idea of statistics, because we should take an opportunity to we were ahead of the
camera.
Oh, thank you. We were ahead of the curve on on our commercials more than our briefings in terms of the market, because we were touching on the extreme seller's market, shortage of inventory and all, but we were a little bit ahead of everybody else you'll see out there on Facebook, because you're seeing them now from other companies and agents. Oh, okay, things are softening up, inventory is building up, the urgency is waning a bit. We were doing that back.
Right, in our commercials. And so now, obviously we want to share it here as well, that the market does seem to be softening up a little bit. We are not seeing a frenzy anymore. It's not like, throwing breadcrumbs into the fish pond and everybody's like this. It's more of, they're like.
What kind of fish pond? Like piranha?
No, like koi pond.
Do they do the frenzy thing?
Sometimes if they're hungry.
Huh.
So anyway, that has nothing to do with real estate.
It doesn't.
But
unless you have a koi pond.
In the future, what do we have got planned for the future, Clark? Of course, more guests.
Oh, yeah. Guests are the thing that it's funny about that. We planned a lot as best we could for content and how we presented it. And it's probably not unique to us, is that the things that are proving to be, have more legs than other things we hadn't really focused on. Guests, as the aforementioned statistics and reviews and things like that, are both big response items from.
So some of the guests that we may have, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Some of the guests that we may have, definitely will have, is a home inspector.
Yep.
We'll have
that
some more.
That may be a two-part thing.
Yeah, we may have some more finance people, because I think when we had Ann on, it was very, very good. But to get other perspectives on financing, different types of financing, I think we'll have, maybe we'll even get a contractor on, because with prices the way they are right now for materials and stuff, buying land is questionable. Because what are you going to build? How are you going to build it? How much time is it going to take? So maybe we'll get a contractor to come in and talk to us a little bit about that kind of thing. So definitely guests. We'll have a few more agents come in as well. So you can get different perspective on how we work. We work well together, but sometimes, we have little conflicts with other people. So it's good to get in.
You mean we have conflicts with other people?
No. I mean, in general, it's like any job you have that, you may not, everyone doesn't do things the same way. So it may not always be as smooth as you'd like it to be. But what our job is working for you and making it smooth for you, regardless of who we have to deal with, whether it's a lender, a lawyer, another real estate agent, a builder, however it is. When you have a real estate agent working for you, we sort through those things for you.
And if not smoother, the other big thing that we did right from the beginning was the concept of stress reduction strategies that include the idea of reducing stress, which, at least in my terms, and I know Denise shares the belief, is that the main thing about stress is the unknown, because we're dealing with first-time buyers, or any buyer, or a seller for that matter. You've got a process that says you go from here to over there over time. Even if you know the path, since there are variables, you can get all stressed out. So a lot of what we did, and that's where the team thing sprang from,
right?
Which is to get your experts ahead of the process, and that cuts down on the stress and all.
Right. So the team building thing is something we're going to continue to talk about.
Yep.
We're going to continue to talk about stress relief. We're going to continue to talk about making the real estate experience a little smoother for buyers and sellers. Our experience will help you with that. we really would like more questions or subject suggestions from our viewers so that we're meeting those needs.
So ask us a question. We'll wait.
No, I'm not waiting. Stop that.
She means.
I don't mean that. You can put a question, you can email us. Clark is putting up our phone numbers.
Oh,
so
yes.
you can text us. You can email, call us, whatever. So you were going to say something about the area that we primarily cover here in our briefings.
Oh,
correct?
South County.
Right.
Yeah, South County.
And also Eastern Connecticut, or what?
We're
Southeastern.
maybe at the end of this next phase, we'll be pushing over into southeastern Connecticut, New London County. Washington County is what's referred to as South County.
Well, that's what we do this is statistics for.
Yeah.
Yeah, but our whole show is more global.
It is.
Yes.
It's like includes places like Idaho.
Idaho.
I know you don't want to hear about Idaho,
Yes.
but that. In our notes about the idea of our immediate target area for these briefings has been South County. Of course, the principle, it's based on buying and selling real estate. That applies everywhere. So looking at South County, though, is kind of interesting in that there are issues in this small an area that are kind of interesting. Septic systems.
Mm-hmm.
You go from ocean to the woods, and septics are necessary, except they can get more involved or less involved. Cesspools,
Type of septic systems, the
sensitive
process
areas.
of getting a septic repaired.
So we may have to do a septic person.
We'll have to get a septic person in
Yeah,
here. That's another good guest to bring in, because septics are a big deal in our area. I don't think there is some sewer systems in our area, but not everyone has that.
Yeah.
So wells are another thing. We could talk to someone about wells. I'm doing a house right now that the well is fine, but the expansion tank, the bladder has decreased. And so how do you fix that? Do you have to replace it? There's different things. We as agents have been through this. So we know some of the things. We know what to worry about, what not to worry about, just like the inspectors, but we're not inspectors. So, there are things we can walk you through. And so this is the kind of thing we'll be covering in the future.
Well, that's a good example, Denise, about the idea of what we do in terms of preparing buyers to reduce stress. So the buyer says, okay, Clark, I want to live in West Greenwich. Okay, then we will talk. If they don't already know, the idea of find out what they know. Mm-hmm. Wells, because if they're coming down from Providence, wells may be a new thing.
Never having had a well. Well, that's a funny story, because when I moved from Pawtucket to Hoh Valley, and my grandmother did not know anything about septic systems. So the first time we had the septic pump, she stood out on the porch and watched it all. She thought it was the most interesting thing in the world to watch the septic get pumped, because she had a sewer her whole life. She never knew where septic went. She didn't care. She was gone. So, yeah. So there are, you come from different parts of the state or different states, and you will have different ideas on how things work. Yeah. I mean, smoke detectors in Connecticut are different than smoke detectors in Rhode Island. So that's the value you get from watching here. And is we are going to be talking about all those things.
And that's what we'll be looking to the viewers to help us focus on that, because as we push into southeastern Connecticut, as Denise alluded to, some of the inspections are done differently. Now, that isn't simply a matter of agent education. It's buyers should know everything about the process. Testing for, believe it or not, between, as you know, Connecticut and Rhode Island is a different sensitivity to the type of inspections.
Correct.
Radon and water is a big thing over in Connecticut, and not so much here in Rhode Island. We're all about the
even the disclosures are different.
Yeah.
Even the disclosures are different. So, I guess we're getting close to the end of our time.
Yeah,
so we do want to invite
minutes.
you to check us out on YouTube and subscribe, please. This way you can check out our past briefings and learn a lot more about real estate, especially if you're in the process. And like us, subscribe to us, share us, and don't forget we're in South County ROE. And don't forget, you can ask us questions.
Yeah.
Text us, email us, call us, whatever you need to do to get your questions answered.
There's a reasonably good chance that we'll be on next Wednesday. Wednesdays have been, let's take a poll for anybody who cares out there. The time we've always been doing is 5:30 on Wednesday, just because it's Wednesday. If there are any opinions out there as to a time that would be more user-friendly, by all means, let us know.
Yeah, we picked that and we've kind of stuck with it, except for nights we have something else that we have to do on Wednesday. And but we really didn't have a reason for picking it. So if you think there's a night that would be better,
I do late Sunday mornings.
No, I don't.
That's what happened. That's why we're on Wednesday. That was the response.
But if I heard that late Sunday morning was the best time, maybe we would do that.
But just so I can get us to run over,
I know,
to counteract my fears,
yeah,
is that we're seeing statistically viewer reg, not a real word, happening after the live portion, except I will maintain that being live makes a difference rather than just do a well-dressed video.
Okay.
Pre-recorded.
I guess that's true.
I'll end on that note.
You can end on that note. So please watch us next Wednesday at 5:30. And if you're around on Monday, don't forget to check out our commercial.
Yeah.
We can't tell you what time it's going to be, though.
Oh, we never know.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.